Okay, speaking of good, maybe a year and a half ago, all three of us watched this Cooper Raiff film called S-H-I-T House. You know what? I'm so sick of saying S-House and S-H-I-T House. I did that on Cinematics earlier today. It's a movie called Shit House, written and directed by Cooper Raiff.
I'm sorry, what? You cut out.
It's Shit House, aka the things I do every 20 minutes with my bowel movements. Now, this movie, Bruce and I both love this movie a lot. I mistakenly said that Eric was not about this movie. I actually even emailed him or messaged him like, oh yeah, I remember you weren't a big fan of it. I listened to our old Find Your Film episode. Actually, Eric's initial review, I don't know if you remember this, Eric, but his review was, it wasn't a film for him, but it could be a very impactful movie for people who are either going through what the main character was going through in Shithouse, or it can be really appreciated. So I misspoke. You actually, in your own way, Eric, you actually recommended Shithouse, correct? When we reviewed it, in a way, it wasn't for you, but you saw the merit in the movie.
Yeah, it was, I barely remember what happened yesterday, but it's, Cooper Raiff. What you say sounds real familiar. Like, if you're like in your early 20s, this is like a must-see movie because you can learn something from it.
Yes.
But like from a 40-year-old guy, it's like I already had those lessons
feelings,
long ago.
Lessons. I still have yet to have those lessons. All I do is watch movies and host podcasts and sit in the corner. So no going out. I don't get to go out.
Just sit here, watch movies, talk about them. Don't hurt anyone.
Except
for the feelings of some of the filmmakers. I assume.
Okay,
I apologize to all of you. You guys do hard work, and we're sitting here just shitting on them every week.
I know, that's our bad. We're sorry, fellow filmmakers. And Bruce, what did you love about Cooper Raiff back in the day when you first saw Shithouse? Because I remember you were really high on him and the actress Dylan Galula. And
I just liked it. It was one of those movies. At first, you're not so sure where you're going with it, but once you met his character and you kind of sat with it, and the woman, I can't remember the name of the actress,
Dylan Galula.
Yeah, and it just settled into its kind of its vibe, and it became them just on this sort of ambling journey over a night. I really liked that, and I really liked his character's journey. And it wasn't a simple meet cute fall in love kind of movie. It was a little more complex than that, and I think I appreciated that too. That it didn't play out in the most stereotypical way, and it was just his character was just so likably flawed, and I think that was what kind of gave it that spice.
Well, Eric is in his, I believe, early 40s. Me and Bruce were in our 50s, so we do remember the days back in the 90s when indie cinema would actually land some really good deals out of Sundance, the Sundance Film Festival. But people like Cooper Raiff, in my opinion, in these days, it's really hard to find. If you're not in bed with any of the streaming services and you're a real indie filmmaker, it's very, very tough. Even though there's a glut of movies out there and content, it's hard to actually become a real success story. With the original film Shithouse, the movie on Wikipedia, it says it cost $15,000 to make. IFC Films bought it. So we're assuming he probably made a pretty penny just on $15,000, right? And then IFC Films bought the film rights. I'm sure that movie has done well over the last couple of years. It's not streaming anywhere. You have to actually buy it on digital. So that's probably, IFC is probably saying, hey, we have something really cool on our hands. You better pony up the money, to actually just watch it. Do you guys have any idea? And I asked this to Anderson too. Cha Cha Real Smooth, his latest film, which opens Friday on Apple TV. Bruce or Eric, do you know how much Apple bought this movie for? Why don't you guys take a guess?
$15 million.
Okay, Bruce, you read too much. I don't like you very much anymore. That's the answer. Eric, your game's over. You read that too, right?
$15.69 million.
$15.69 million. That is, Dan Cooper would be in ultimate heaven. Yes, correct, Bruce. $15 million for Cha Cha Real Smooth just to have the rights. So right now, Cooper Raiff is really swimming in the money. That's not important. Just a real nice, wonderful story for an indie filmmaker, not so indie anymore with the Apple release on Friday. The premise is Cooper Raiff is a guy who, like Eric said, early 20s. Now he's living with his mother and stepfather. His mother's played by Leslie Mann. His stepfather is a boring pharmaceutical guy played by Brad Garrett. Very funny. Also, Cooper Raiff decides to move home with his stepmom and his younger brother. They share a room together now. So a little bit of a state of arrested development behind Cha Cha Real Smooth. He has a job at a fast food place called Meat Sticks, and ultimately he ends up getting a job as a party starter on various bar and bat mitzvahs all over town. In one of these events, he meets the mother, really beautiful mother played by Dakota Johnson, single mom, and she has an autistic daughter. Ultimately, Cooper Raiff's character bonds with the daughter and of course the mother. Their relationship is chronicled within all its heartbreak and successes, and romance is chronicled in the coming of age drama or dramedy, lots of comedic touches in Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Eric Holmes, you enjoyed Shithouse for its quality in a sense, but it wasn't really up to where you are at that moment, because you've been through this before. How did you feel about Cha-Cha Real Smooth? Could you relate to it more, or did you just find it to be a better story? How did you feel of Cha-Cha Real Smooth?
This one was a lot better than Shithouse, in my opinion. It just kind of did what Shithouse did and just opened it up more. It feels like someone that's, they drew a balloon. They drew a really nice balloon. Everyone agrees that's a pretty good looking balloon. Well, now he's going to draw another balloon, but this one looks really good. That's kind of what Cha-Cha Real Smooth. It almost feels like a do-over of Shithouse, which was already pretty good to begin with. Just kind of writing the same kind of ideas, dynamics. He's really good at like character work, character dynamic, all that. And then weaving story in it. Certain parts where like they'll do kind of cliches of the genre. And then he's kind of, here's a cliche of the genre. Here's how it would probably actually play out in real life. And those were kind of fun to watch in there. Yeah, this is a pretty good movie.
So better written? You feel better written than Shithouse for you?
I would say about the same. I just think Shithouse felt like a dry run for this. Shithouse was him kind of warming up, and then he comes out with Cha-Cha Real Smooth, and it's like, bam, stuck the landing there.
Okay, very good. I'm glad that Eric Holmes really enjoyed Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Bruce Berkey, I am assuming that you are all over this movie as well.
Oh yeah, I think this is a really, really good movie. And I think that I was watching it, and it's one of those movies where you want to make all these comparisons. I've seen a lot of people comparing it to, I think Shithouse gets compared a lot to the,
Before Trilogy.
Right? Yeah. I think I started thinking of The Graduate in some ways, because it's this idea of this kind of guy, he's out of college, he's kind of adrift, trying to find his way in the world, and also trying to find his way in like love and relationships. But I think that what works in this movie as well as Shithouse really well is that his characters are really flawed, but really, I think they're really understandable and believable in a lot of ways. And it doesn't take the easy paths in a lot of these scenes. And I think that's what Eric's is talking about as well. Like in some ways, The Graduate does take the easy paths, like at the end of the movie, I was talking about how like they're sitting on the bus, and there's that moment they sit on the bus and everyone says like, well, what happens after that moment? This is going to be a problem. This relationship is going to be a mess. Well, this movie lets the messes happen. And even something as simple as there's a scene early on in this movie where the character played by Dakota Johnson has an issue inside of a bathroom during one of these events that he's planning. And that scene is played out so interesting, and it's so relatable, but unique, and something I haven't quite seen, but also it's kind of a really strange meet cute in some ways, but it's not a meet cute at all. And I think this whole movie does that sort of thing. It takes a scene that has a weird tension and a humor at the same time. And he's a likable character, but sometimes he's not a likable character. He gets really drunk and becomes an asshole at times, which also, I don't know about you guys, but that's relatable. Hey, you've got these moments where you just kind of don't do the right thing. And I want to kind of underline a couple things too. The character of her daughter, Lola, is great representation as well. I was curious. She is represented as a person on this, I think on the spectrum she's on the spectrum, and I think that the actress is actually a character that they looked hard to find an actress to actually represent.
She's autistic, right? She's autistic.
Yeah, I think it's autistic. Yeah. So that I thought was really refreshing. One thing that I could think could be kind of aimed at this movie would be Dakota Johnson's character kind of being kind of a cipher, or kind of just as this character, this kind of what he projects upon her. But the movie deals with that. And it deals with that in a really interesting way. And even a character like her love interest starts out as one thing, I thought, and ends up somewhere else. I think this movie is like the best Woody Allen movies, like those kind of movies where you go into it and it has kind of a simple concept, but by the end you feel like you know characters in a really rich way and you've kind of gone on a journey with them, to the point where the beginning and the ends of the movie feel like just a slice. You feel like this life continues for these characters afterwards. I think that's a great testament to some really good writing.
Yeah, I think what Cha-Cha Real Smooth does well, and I thought Shithouse did really well as well, too, but this one does a little bit better. The idea of heartbreak. When you're watching the movie, you actually are transported. At least I was with Cha-Cha Real Smooth, to your own memories of the times you got your heart broken, or maybe the time you wanted to tell someone, hey, I think we're soulmates, or I think we have something. What did Roger Ebert say? He said the movies are an empathy machine. For Cha-Cha Real Smooth is a real time machine. You get to not this story, you get to your own stories in your life where you may have not felt so good, and you might be emotional about a lot of things that may work out or may not work out, or you might be somewhere in the middle. And it's a very scary feeling. So in a weird way, there are parts of Cha-Cha Real Smooth in all its beautiful glory and learning about the characters. There are some horrific and scary moments that are hard to face as a viewer. So I really loved at how unadulterated and truthful this movie, seemed to be for me. Eric Holmes, it seems like you really want to say something about this movie.
I just kind of want to throw this out there because this will never happen, but this would be Cha-Cha Real Smooth if it did. I need Cooper Raiff to write a script. I need Jim Cummings to write a script, and then they swap them, and each one directs each other's scripts.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there in the ether. Make that happen.
Oh, my God.
And they call it Cha-Cha Real Lumpy.
Because their energy is so different, but they're both so smart and good writers in different ways, and to see them each bring their own energy to the other person's script would be super interesting.
Yeah,
and they're both singular without being arrogant about it, and that's what I really love. They just really love the process. Speaking of Jim Cummings, I mentioned him today on Cinematics in defense of Bruce Perky and Eric Holmes. That is actually the thing I forgot about. Thank you for tying this in, Eric Holmes. At the beginning, I wanted to ask Eric and Bruce, before we get to the ratings of Cha-Cha Real Smooth, Bruce and Eric, I don't know if you listened to this week's episode. Oh, you did listen to this week's episode of the Film Vault. What did you think of Brian and Anderson's take on Giallo cinema vis-a-vis Dario Argento's Suspiria?
About what I expected.
Yeah, and you have, I want some knives for you to stick. Anything, Eric or Bruce, any thoughts regarding their lack of love for that film or lack of passion for Argento?
No, it sounded like Anderson was kind of like trying to get in there, like really trying, but it just wasn't working for him. But it's about what I expected.
You sound like a warden who's just letting the prisoners for the 24-hour leave. Just come back whenever you want. Kid gloves to your buddy Anderson. Bruce, what do you think about their lack of appreciation for Jell-O?
If you only eat vanilla ice cream and you taste chocolate ice cream once and you think it sucks, I mean, what are you going to expect from somebody?
Yeah. Anyways, actually, they I think it was that episode they were talking about a beer. Yeah, because it was the beer drinking scenes. Like they're like drinking. It's like, oh, this is wonderful. It's like that's not how we first drink beer. You first drink it. It's like, oh, what the hell is that? You got to warm up to it.
Exactly.
Very, very good, Eric Holmes. So this is in reference to the Film Vault and Brian Bishop and Anderson Cowan. They reviewed the movie Suspiria and its quote unquote remake with I don't know how to pronounce Luca's last name, but by the way, I'm sorry, Eric.
Guadagnino.
Very good, Eric. And obviously the lead actress in that is Dakota Johnson. So that's regarding the Film Vaults this weekend. Ties in back to Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I'm going to start first. My rating for Cha-Cha Real Smooth is I'm giving this is a 5-star banger for me, just because how it made me feel. It almost got me to the petite maman references level, but there is something very annoying about Cha-Cha Real Smooth that I'm going to get to in our spoiler discussion. It's going to take a couple minutes. Take a listen to that. I wonder if Eric and Bruce picked up on what I found was annoying. Still a 5-star banger for me. Eric Holmes, your rating on Cha-Cha Real Smooth?
I'd probably go 4.5 on this. I kind of want to go 5 just because I can't think of a better way to do this movie. So 5 stars makes sense, but it's fuck it. I'll go 5 on this one too.
5 on that one. Bruce, I mean, Eric should know what's the best way in Eric's mind for a movie to be a 5-star banger. What is the best way to do it? Do you know, Bruce?
The best way? You mean his canon or his canon,
with his for a movie to actually go from 4 to 5 or 4.5 to 5. What needs to be done for Eric to give it a 5? It's a pretty easy answer.
Well, it has meat sticks in it, so
very close. That's very, very funny. Very funny. Obviously, speaking of which, Joe Dante, it just needs Gremlins, and that will be a biased half-star, 1-star.
No, this isn't like a shirt cannon 5-star, but this is like the best version of this kind of movie that I could think of. I want to give it 4.5, but I'm like, well, what'd they do wrong? I can't think of it. So 5 stars for Eric Holmes, 5 stars for me, Bruce.
4.5, and I with room to grow. But yeah, I'm gonna go 4.5. I don't know why. Eric almost convinced me to go to 5, and I'm like, I can't. I don't really have a reason, but it just feels 4.5 to me. So we'll see.